Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service here today to present the new moon chart for February 11, 2021. So as we jump into this chart, there's a couple of really interesting aspects about it. Number one, it has a stellium of Aquarius, which means that there are more than 4 planets in Aquarius. Actually, this one has 7. So it's really very much a concentrated chart. They always say a stellium is a sign of genius. Well, maybe we're going to see some genius in all of us in the next month. The other aspect of this chart is that it holds a void of course moon, which simply put is that the moon is not making any major aspects at the time of the new moon. Astrologers disagree with each other. I mean, there's some agreement and then there's some disagreement about what does it mean to be void of course. Now, I'm an asteroid astrologer, so I don't really dwell on void of course too much, but I thought for the purposes of the chart today, I would at least talk about what it is, which is to say that you can look at it in several different ways. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. For example, when John Kerry threw his hat in the ring to become president, it was during a void of course moon, and a lot of astrologers were concerned because it would mean that his campaign would not make it. It didn't. Okay. Now, here we are 12 years later, and he is in the cabinet as the head of the environmentalist group. So was it a bad thing that he didn't become president? What it was a shift in his direction and an opportunity for him to do maybe something that was more in line with what his soul's purpose was. That's how I could look at it. So it can go either way. It depends on how you want to look at it. But a lot of astrologers feel that this is an incredibly dynamic chart, and they wonder if that void of course doesn't mute it somewhat. And the only thing we can do is live through it and see what it does for all of us and how it plays out. So before I begin the chart, I would like to say thank you to all of my subscribers, whether they are a website, the newsletter, or in particular this YouTube channel. It's a slow growing type of thing, and I'm just so pleased that we are growing. So thank you so much, each one of you, for helping that to come true for me. So thank you so much for allowing me into your life. Continue to like, share, and most particularly comment. I enjoy, especially with a small group, getting to know you. So it's been awesome, and it's a lot of fun, and I have you all to thank. So thank you so much. So we're going to look at this chart for Washington, D.C., but if you live in California, this will not look this way. You'll still have a stellium. You'll still have the squares, but they will fall in different houses. The same could be said of another country. The new moon happens at a certain specific point, and we're all going to hit that point, but we're not going to do it at the same time if we're living in different areas. So that means that the whole structure of the chart changes because that time and that place determine the ascendant and the midheaven. So just a little mini lesson there on the side. So let's take a look at what we have for our new charts. So I'm making sure that I have my chart up right now, and I'm hoping that I do. I have the trans-Neptunians in. Let's take them just for a moment. Let's take them out, okay? I actually should have done this, and I've done this video like 3 times, so I forget. So here we have the chart itself, and I wanted the basic chart because look at this. This is amazing. Look at that. Everything is in one part of the chart. And I think it wouldn't matter where you lived, you would see something like this, because this is a stellium. It literally leaves one house and pushes into the next house in this specific chart, which is DC, Washington, D.C. So if you lived in a different place, it might all fall in one house. I don't know. But I can tell you that the way this is, this stellium is huge. The stellium brings in a lot of conjunction, okay? So the Venus-Jupiter conjunction, the Sun-Moon conjunction, both all of which are in some aspect to this Mercury, though it be wide in the case of the moon. That's 7 degrees, that's a lot. The Venus, however, that 4 degrees, that's realistic. That is more realistic. The interesting thing is that the Saturn here is also in somewhat of a conjunction as well, although again 6 degrees apart, and it really depends on the astrologer if we're going to count that. But still all in Aquarius. The Aquarius energy is a fixed energy, just as the Taurus energy is a fixed energy. See all these red things? Okay. They're forming a square. That's what that red stuff means. And you're dealing with fixed energies, which are doers. They are get the job done type people. They move and groove. If they're upset, I think they kind of do something just to kind of forget that they have something going on. So they kind of move. I believe, is what you would say with regards to the fixed signs. The thing about the 90-degree angle, which is really, really interesting, which is this square, is how strong it is. I have been a trainer in both yoga and dance, and I teach 90-degree angles as kind of a physics thing, because when you make your knee a 90-degree angle, you're in the strongest stance you can be in. So if you're doing, say, a warrior one, you want that knee to be placed right over that ankle, right over that foot, between the ball of the foot and the heel. You want that straight line, if you will. If the knee goes too far forward or too far back, it's too weak. The same can be said for construction. My father was in construction. When things are being built, 90-degree angles are what they use to make things stronger. Now, Tracy Marks does a book on T-squares, all right? And it comes up that a T-square, which is, say if we had a opposition, which we do, we'll get to it in a minute, which say Volcanus, which is down here, it begins to set up a situation where she actually says this, miracles can be created. Yes, particularly in this case, we're talking about signs that are doers. Things are going to happen. And very focused things are going to happen to all of us, okay, because of this 90-degree angle and because of the fixed energy. Will it be easy? No. Will it require a lot of work and effort? Yes, because that's how it works. So as we move through this, notice these two are not in aspect. Unless you're about 12 degrees of Taurus and you pull it together, or 12 degrees Aquarius or whatever, these things pull it together actually, especially these two right here, okay? Oh, no, I don't want to know about Venus in that house. It basically, you know how that program works. What I'm doing here is looking at this point, which is a midpoint of these two, okay? So Venus and Jupiter together can mean things like, well, it's compliments and doing nice things or having nice things done, but it's spending too much money. And it brings up the idea of it's an expansion of money. It's an expansion of kindness, but it's also, or charity, but it's also an extension of money. So if this were a personal chart, I would say to the person, be careful how much money you spend. Now that falls right here between Uranus and Mars. It's spending too much money is causing a conflict. It's an action that causes a conflict with regards to the transitions that we're going through or things that are going on, okay? Meaning, is it really appropriate to spend a lot of money? Or are you spending a lot of money impulsively because of that Mars and Uranus? I can't say that enough for this next few weeks. Please be careful about your money, people. I don't think it's about deception, okay? Although certainly with Neptune, there's a lot of self-deception. You know, it's funny. I'm going to be doing something on the 15 mutable point. And we're going to get to that in a second when I get over to the dial. But when you do, it's like I'm trying to do too many things at once. I did too many of these videos. Basically, what you're seeing is how, even though those two, Mars and Uranus, are not really an aspect, which is like impulsive actions, the Jupiter, Venus does bring them together and will cause a commotion there. The Mercury, the way we think, is not the way we're acting. What we think and the way we're acting are not quite in alignment. That's interesting in light of what we have with Neptune, okay, and Pluto, which is a sextile, which is like an opportunity. It's like, if the door's open, put your foot in. And that's sort of what you get from that. The sun and the moon only are in square to Mars, but I think of this as the sun and the moon as our interactions with others, the other people, and Mars is anger, restlessness. Again, if people are overspending and they go home and they realize it, then they're probably going to possibly even take it out on other people. I'm just stating here, just throwing things out there. Okay, the sun and the moon are also very humanitarian energies together there in Aquarius, but they seem to be bucking up against a resistance of some sorts. Like, no, we can't be, we want to be caring of everybody, but there's an issue, maybe because of money. It's like things are not what they should be, but we are working hard to make them that way. That's another great way to put it. So I look at this as actually not a bad chart. Now, the fact that the moon, they say that there's a square here to Mars, but really there isn't. I mean, it's 5 degrees away and the moon is moved away. So it's already lessening its impulse. So, you know, that whole, I'm acting in a way that doesn't seem right to me, or why am I doing this? This is not who I am type thing. That's going away. But again, what opportunities does it bring? Because there is such a light load on the moon. That's how I look at that. Okay? So we have that incredible 90-degree energy happening between all that is in Taurus and all that is in Aquarius. But if we go up here, and I'm staying with those things right now, if I go back up and select, go back into those placements, you're going to find that things are a little bit different. Okay, yes, I need that. So now the chart a little bit more filled out. You see a lot more filled out, actually. But look at, now we have oppositions to, oops, I did it again, to that. Let's go to pen, because then I won't do that. There we go. So we have this opposition. Poseidon is about light and truth and, you know, all of those things, but it's also about propaganda, particularly when it's in such a trine to Neptune. Let's muddy the waters a little bit, okay? That's why you have to be really careful what you're hearing right now. It also, this makes a square to, and we'll use this square because these move so slowly, to Hades, which I believe is the disease. So a lot of news about what's ongoing with the disease. But you also have that opposition to Mars, and it's the actions of others that are going to draw a lot of attention. Also, this is an 11th to 5th house issue. Now, again, this is going to be different if you live in a different place. But for Washington, D.C., there is an anger or an issue that relates to the group versus the individual. And we do have a party in trouble right now. That would be the Republicans. So this could, again, have a lot to do with that. Remember that there's a lot of propaganda, and that is causing issues in an organization, okay? But you could even look at that with the Mars and Uranus as well. But here we got, because remember, here we go again with Poseidon kind of pulls them together. And when you start pulling in mathematically things that do that, then they are in a conversation with each other, because Poseidon is a very slow mover. So it's still affecting Uranus a little bit. But when you see Uranus with Saturn, that really kind of explains it, which is you've got your Uranus energy, which is your outer structures. You've got your Saturn energy, which is your inner structures. And the two right now are struggling. They're trying to create a better structure in the combination of the two, being more humanitarian, but being practical, being free, but yet structured, being unpredictable, but disciplined. So think about those terms, and that's your struggle that we're all going to be looking at over the next several weeks, at least until we get to the full moon. So just to pop this off. Now, as we look at all of this, I want to pull something up here. See this 4 degrees of Apollon. Okay, so I'm gonna pull my pen back out, otherwise it's going to start pulling stuff on me. So let's look at something. Here we have a 4 degrees, but that happens to be in opposition to Uranus. Changes in business, changes in friends, or expansion of friends. So this is your changes, friends, okay, associates. This is business, but there's more than one. So whenever you're talking about Apollon, you're always talking about more than one. Here's our other part of the cross. Remember we talked about the 90-degree angles and all the crosses and how that creates strength. Well, we are changing businesses, and there's, again, the volcanus, the pressure, the structure to change, the pressure on our structures to change is bringing up many issues. Or change business, change how we look at business, change how, I'm thinking too many things at one time. Let's look at the fact that they're cutting down on oil. They have to. They have to. We're supplementing the oil business. I mean, when I found that, I was like, what? Okay, so when it comes to the pipelines and things, we got to stop ruining this earth, okay? We have alternatives. That is a good picture of that, actually. And it's an upset to the business, but at the same time, it can be freeing, and the pressure to create another structure. Okay? So, Pluto still is in our picture. Okay, a little messy there. Because Pluto is still, the transformation is still opportunities for a lack of clarity, to muddy the waters, for self-delusion, for faulty perceptions. That's what I was looking for, Weasley. That's our asteroid, faulty perceptions. So you got all this going on at the same time. So we do have a lot going on. And even though we wouldn't really consider, these are not conjunctions, they're 10 degrees apart. When you study it, when they study the Hellenistic cycle of it, it really is going to look at things like businesses that are related to either propaganda, news media, and they'll look at it like that. I wanted to bring it up because this Poseidon is playing a huge thing on our anger, okay? So there's a lot we're hearing that is still disturbed, not like it was. Okay, we had 4 years, it was far worse. But I do believe that there is an element here of wanting to wrangle the crowd to anger. Okay, Zeus is that excitement. But it's also about engaging people in energy that will continue. That doesn't, like, in other words, when you're excited about something, you don't want to run out of your excitement before you finish your project. So it could have a lot to do with that as well. So let's jump to the other chart. I think, and I've done it so many times, I think I covered what I needed to cover here. Let's go to the next chart. So we have this. I'm already on dial. Let's switch it back to the wheel just for a second. I'm going to work more with the dial today. The wheel, I like to go through the asteroids, and I'm going to go through the asteroids for the vaccinations. We're going to do that today, just because you can't believe how they are. This is where astrology is phenomenal. Okay, this is like if you don't understand astrology. First of all, I don't like to use the word believe in astrology, because astrology is a science, it's not a belief system. But we do have things that we say in astrology, like if that's not an astrology, I quit, because some things are just there. Let's just say this about the vaccinations. They're there. So let's start with that on there, because I'm not going to do the regular asteroid thing. Some of us are not living in the same areas, so it becomes more interesting when you get to the dial. But let's look at, I just put it there. Let me go back here. This point right here, okay, I gotta start all over. Boy, I'm having a hard time today. Right here is the asteroid for Francis. I'm gonna just put an F there. We don't have glyphs for this. If you did, I don't know what a vaccination glyph would look like. So we got a vaccination at 2446 Aquarius when we have the sun and the moon at 23 Aquarius. Oh, and this chart is 16. So I've been saying 17, but I guess it is 16. So 2316. So at 2446, about 1.5 degrees away, you have a vaccination. Okay? Realize that this, I'm going to show you something right away. Okay? That's where that one is. And now over here, just beyond this one, is one called Jenner. Those are the asteroids for vaccinations. There are 2 of them. We're going to look at 2 more, but let me show you something. Notice that this is right near the sun and moon, and this is right near Uranus. Okay? Now watch what happens when I go to the dial. Oops, you can tell I've already been working. Okay, so let me go to the absolute Aries point. You'll see it. Look at that. Oh, sorry. Look at that. So what does that tell us? I think it's telling us that the vaccinations are in the Aries point. 2 of these vaccinations are in the Aries point. So we are hearing a lot about the vaccinations, which I think is incredible. It's wonderful. I'm going to go back for now because I got 2 more to put in there, but I really needed to show you that because I think it's really, really important. Okay? Now, there are 2 more, so let me put them all in. So let's start over again. Okay, so first we have one right there, and that is Francis. Okay? Then we have Jenner right off of there, about 9 degrees. We have Jenner, okay? Now, here's a really good one. Pluto is at 2432, right here, okay? Right at 2332, literally 1 degree away from Pluto, transformation. We have Mathers. Okay, now remember that I had spoke about, I believe, the sextile between Neptune at 19 degrees Pisces and Pluto at 25 of Capricorn. Here we go again with a wide orb. Fortunately, they're both slower. So there's just like kind of a weird, I'm going to say weaker sextile. Let's go that route. Okay, and by the way, guys, look at this. I want to point out this. That's masked. mask wearing, and this is the disease, and this Pluto is an aspect to both of those points. So Mathers is telling us that the vaccinations are there, but again, it's confirming that we still need to wear masks. Hey, that's great. It also tells us that the transformations are part and parcel with vaccinations, which is great. The very last one is interesting because it forms a perfect trine with Mathers, and this one's called Pasteur. And it forms a perfect trine with Mathers, which is with Pluto. Okay, so there's a trine to Pluto. Again, that's helping the transformation. But it's also squaring, like strongly squaring the sun and moon. And that makes me think that, yeah, the vaccinations are getting out there, but we're probably going to hear a lot of stories about people that have cheated, jumped in line. You know, I think there's going to be a lot of stuff about that. I expect that. It's our world. There's a lot of selfish people, tremendous amount of selfish people in our world. And, you know, it's not surprising. So I'm not surprised about that. But I think it's really interesting that it's an exact square by about, what, 15 minutes or something? I mean, this is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I had to show that because I do believe I should start showing the vaccinations in these charts. So let me buzz out of there and let me take this to the next place I want to be, which is the dial. And again, Hades midheaven. Now, again, this is Washington, but what are they absorbed with? They're absorbed with this disease. They're also absorbed with mistakes and issues and things that have been done in the past, especially the past 4 years, because of the impeachment trial. So there's a lot there. You know, there's a lot about decisions in the Aries point too. So we have irresponsible, restless, erratic behavior on the part of people, and then decisions about them. I don't want to get into this too much, but that is the impeachment trial. Okay, so get ready. That is going to be big time in the news. I think we all know that, though. I don't think there's any shocker. If you live in this country, but I got news for you. I don't care where you live in the world, you're not going to escape that trial. If only. So that's not happening. So I did want to look at the Aries point. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. We'll do the 2230. Just, again, to state the obvious, okay? We're stating the obvious. Zeus is still very much in the picture. Now we have that sun and moon are very much a part of the ascendant. We also know that nothing is resolved this month. Now, void, of course, moon could also confirm that there would be a lot of unresolved issues in the next month. As far as the asteroids go, I do believe that some of the decisions will be still surprising, as Eureka is in there. I also feel that there's going to be some endings that will be really featured by way of the Aries point. And I do believe some of that will have to do with the, not just the stuff having to do with the last administration, but I think it has to do with the vaccinations, the disease itself. I also feel like it is still going to be crazy, and that's why we don't know anything. And I think it's going to be crazy because there's too much going on. I just do. I also believe that people will feel very stuck this month because it makes me wonder if even the stimulus package thing is going to be held up on some level for another couple of weeks. And that wouldn't be very surprising in this particular chart, unfortunately. It's also highlighting concepts that people are hanging on to or clinging on to, something about, and this could be angers related to, because remember, we're talking about Mars being in aspect to Saturn, or I'm sorry, to the sun and moon, and what that could mean in terms of, oh gosh, I'm so, like, there's so much going on in my head with this stuff. this is just a really interesting time. Just like this chart, and it's hard for me to talk. There's just so much going on. Narcissist is what I was trying to find. Narcissist. There's something about somebody who's selfish. Again, I don't think we have to search too far for that. There's also something about heart issues. So one of the things we might be more aware of is some people might be excited about something, but other people might have health issues, period. Okay? So that's another factor. Yes, and faulty perceptions. I wanted to talk about this really briefly. Faulty perceptions runs right about here in 21, and at 23, we're dealing with our sun and moon. And Weasley is the faulty perceptions, and it's just not far enough away for me to be happy with that. That brings us to what I really, really wanted to talk about, which is I want to put us on the sun-moon point. Okay, we're getting there. So there's our sun-moon axis. Okay, and in the axis, we go from up here at 816, because that's what that is, all the way to, because it's 2230 between each one. So this would be 46 fixed, just 0.46 right there, or 36.46, 30.46, if you will. So that brings us to Taureau, to Vulcanus, and to Tisphany. Okay, which is this little asteroid down here. I think that there's a real focus on, and people are there's an anger, bullies are forcing just rewards. We can only hope. But that is in that sun-moon axis, okay? See that? This is in this sun-moon axis. The most interesting point on the sun-moon axis points are when you get over here to 15. Let me see if I can get it to 75. It's actually 46. Boy, I did good. Look at that. It pulls up Juno partners. Remember, this is a sun and moon. So we're looking at partners. We're looking at one-on-one relationships. Okay? And you're getting this idea here. Also child and childish behavior, and how people might not, there's the bully and the pressure to be logical. Okay, so it's like something's happening. The bully, the pressure, and the just reward. So it's like you got to do the right thing, and then it comes with children. You have to have a good boundary. With those you love, Urania, logic. Okay? Now those are the ones that we can see. So let's go on. I'm gonna add in a few more, okay? The health issue stuff is still there, but there's a midpoint formed where it could be a lies about a health matter. I think somebody, and this could happen in anybody's life, might not be completely honest about their health. The fixed position of 46 is reminding us that there's necessary evils in life. There are things that we have to deal with, like people lying about their health, especially right now, okay? The other point there is that we want to be aware and we want to be conscious. That is actually running with a vaccination, okay, at 23 Taurus. That's running with a vaccination. It's squaring the sun and the moon. And it's really just telling us that, again, just because the vaccination is there, we have to be very vigilant. But think about it in every way that you can. Are you conscious of the fact that you're being bullied when it comes to justice or just rewards? That, people want what's theirs? That there's pressure in that arena? Okay? When I go to Urania, South Node, there's where the not is. And are people not being logical? Is it the fact that people are being such bullies about justice that they're not being logical, that they're not dealing that way? or that there's not justice for that narcissist. And this is going to be true on every level. This isn't just me talking about Washington. This is me talking about everything in our personal lives, in our working lives. We all have those people in our lives that are not rational. And it might be because of anger or pressure. Could be that somebody's working so hard, they're just not seeing the forest for the trees. Some people are working very hard. Some people are not working at all. And it's affecting what they think. I do believe there will be a lot of news this month, a lot of news. It's really featured, actually. And in Cardinal, we're 8. So there's a lot of opportunity. There really is. But the opportunities are there, but there's also, you have to be careful of the workaholics, the people who drink too much, but there are opportunities out there. There really are opportunities out there. I can't stress that enough. And it talks about how, again, listen to your gut and be strategic, be conscious, be aware. Okay? That's really what we're being asked to do, mostly. And then the really final set I wanted to look at was, again, I talked about it. When it comes to our children and people that we really, really love, they can bring a lot of chaos into our life if we don't set up better boundaries. And I definitely want to leave you with that one because I think it's really important. Also, people who act like children. Okay, remember, volcanist to child is people who act because they think they're going to get their just rewards by acting childish. I think that there are plenty of adults that do that. Especially entitled people tend to do that. So we're going to see all of this, not just in the news, but in our daily lives. I did the Aries axis, but I did want to spend a lot of time on the Sun axis as well. So with that said, let me come back. So I just want to say a proper goodbye. And again, thank you for being here. Also, before I leave, I do the new moon, I do the full moon. I try to keep this as educational as possible. I am considering doing a video on the nose, which will probably be one of my next ones. If there's a subject matter that you would like to see me do, let me know. Put it in the comments or send me through my website. You can send me instant messages. I would love to hear from you, and I would love to find out what it is you would like to hear about. I know that we all like the predictive work, and that's great. That's good stuff. But there's so many elements of astrology that we could discuss that I think would be of interest to people, but I'd like to hear from you. And even if you think that you would maybe be the only one, you're usually not. My last suggestion was to really look at the Janus program. Well, that video is actually done fairly well. So other people are interested. So if there is something that you're interested in or that you'd like for me to do more of an in-depth study or lecture on, just let me know. I would really love to hear from you. And I really want it to be not just me talking at you, but that you're able to give me feedback on what you'd like for me to discuss. Sometimes I don't even know what I know because I've been doing this for so long. So I also don't know when I'm off on tangents because I think everybody's following along, and sometimes I lose people because I don't know what I know sometimes. But it's been a long time studying. So if there's something that you would like to pick my brain on, I would love to hear it. So with that, I am, as always, going to leave you with, until we meet again, I wish you only happy reading.